Well, welcome back to another school year. I can't believe here we are. It was just the summer, and wham, bam, we're already 3 weeks down into the new school year. So glad to be back, and I'm our special guest, of course, Jay Burcham, our school president, on our very first podcast for this school year. And what's amazing about this podcast is that we're also doing it with video. So you can tune into our YouTube account, or you can listen on your car drive, whether you're going to school, coming home, whatever you're doing. So welcome, Jay.
Well, thank you. And I don't know if the video is a good thing or not, but it is what it is. So I'm glad to be here. And I'm like you, I can't believe we're this far into the school year already. It seems like we just ended last year, spent a really busy summer getting things ready for this school year, and we're here. And the great thing, we've had a couple of retreats, our freshman retreat, our senior retreat. Well, the kids are excited. They're in good spirits. You go to a football game, and there's huge crowds. The kids are there. Really excited. We're going to have our first all-community chapel this Wednesday, which want to invite everyone, please come to all-community chapel. One of the greatest joys you'll ever have is hearing those 700 kids, and they're singing at the top of their lungs with their chapel buddies, and it's a really special time. And we're going to do some special things at this all-community chapel. So, just great things happening quickly. And the year will pass by before you know it. So don't miss out on the good stuff, because it comes and it goes quick.
Definitely. And, you said coming off of summer, this summer was very busy. You would think, oh, well, they get the summer off. Those in education, they get to just kick back. No, that's not the case. We had a lot of things going on, and a lot of it due to your strategic vision, no pun intended, but with the strategic planning and with our ROIs, which is new this year. I came from a background in education where we always talked about a portrait of a graduate. If you send your student, your child to our school, this is what they're going to look like by the time they graduate. But you took it 12 steps further, because you're not looking just as the senior year when they graduate. You're saying, what is the expectation for each individual grade level? Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the way you look at it is from two sides. One, let's look at it from our parents' side. Our parents are sacrificing to have their kids at Brentwood. They could be at public school and it doesn't cost anything. And so if they're here, we need to help be able to explain the benefit of every year, not just a graduating student, because I can give all kinds of stats on our kids graduating with, scholarship dollars, entrance into primary schools, all these things that will demonstrate the value of a place like Brentwood. But what we wanted to look at is, what's the value of second grade, third grade, sixth grade, grade by grade by grade. And so we worked with our teachers. There was a lot of work from our administration and our teachers putting together what are the entrance criteria, minimum level of criteria we'll accept for each grade level. And that should be our basal or our threshold. What is the minimum level of advancing skills to exit that grade level? And then what is the parental involvement we need? Because this has to be a partnership with our parents. And so if you're in first grade, there is just so much time a week you need to spend reading to your kids. If you're in sixth grade, there is so much time you spend a week in math with your kids. There's just this ongoing growth of partnership that will actually become a diminishing partnership in involvement as far as doing the work with the kids, and then becoming the proctor and then the grader by the end. And so by doing that, what we have is step by step, grade by grade, the behavioral, social, educational, and spiritual growth for our kids, the entry level and growth levels, and then parental involvement, and then a value statement per grade, so that you know exactly what it is that you are to receive from your kids being here grade by grade. So we spent a lot of time on that on the summer, and I would really encourage parents, when you drop your kids off, if they're in elementary school, there's a poster right outside their classroom that illustrates all of that, gives you the breakdown. If you are in secondary, then there is right outside the high school office for high school, and then downstairs for middle school, they have all the grades, grade by grade. Once again, those ROIs, which an ROI is return on investment. So what is your return on investment academically, behaviorally, socially, spiritually? And then the value statement per grade level. So we worked on that. We coupled that with something that you said earlier, our strategic plan. We do strategic planning every 3 years. We did this as our lead into our accreditation year next year. And what was different this year is typically I write the strategic plan with help from the administration. Instead, this year the administration actually wrote their strategic plan per business unit. And then we use that to create an amalgamated, integrated plan. And it's fantastic. Folks really worked hard. And one thing I want to offer anyone who's listening, anyone that wants to see the strategic plan, let me know, I'll send it to you, the whole thing. You can see literally every, and when I say business unit, that's fine arts, athletics, engagement, every business unit, admissions, finance, you can see what they're working on, and not only what they're working on, but their goals year by year over the next 3 years. They become our operational goals for this year, our projected goals for the following year, and our prospective goals for that third year, which then leads us then into our new strategic plan based on what we've achieved or haven't achieved over the course of that 3 years. And so when people say we take the summer off in admin, I love the summer because I love work like that. That's when we buckle down and do all our work. And then you also have, Jacinto and his crews putting the school back together.
Wow, man, a lot of work.
A lot of work. And one thing I want to say of Jacinto and his crews, we used to hire work crews of men coming in because we have to paint, redo walls, move classrooms, tons of moving stuff. And we started about 4 or 5 years ago, so why don't we hire our alumni, the kids that are in college? It's hard to come back for 3 months, get a job, and turn around and go. So we started doing that. And the quality of work has skyrocketed. Jacinto will tell you, you've got kids like Keller Jackson, Riley Kesey. This year, we had some of our younger guys, even like a Micah Riley worked with us. We've got all these young guys that are in college that come and just work their tails off. And they do it all summer. And so when you see all these painted rooms and hallway and how nice things look, those are our alumni. And what makes me feel so good is that they learn to work. And then our young ladies we have working in our offices. So they're the ones that are doing the inventory of textbooks and the distributing of textbooks and helping get all the records straight. I tell you, it makes you proud to see how hard our alumni work.
No, and it's great for us as well. It keeps them connected to the school. I just hope they don't unionize when they come back next summer. But in going back to what you had said over the summer and putting all this together, I really want to encourage our parents to come and look at those ROIs. Spend some time reading those because you're making an investment. You're spending money. You're sending your child, you're dropping them off. You come back 8 hours later. You wonder, okay, what are they teaching you in school? Well, you can see what those expectations are, not just for us and teaching your children, but also for you as well. It's that partnership that comes together. Your kids are the ones that benefit. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and when you look at that, you'll also find in the hallway our roadmaps. We have an academic roadmap and a social spiritual roadmap. And what that does, it shows the verticality of movement. So moving from grade to grade level and what you will do at each grade level. And then those ROIs show you the benefit of each grade level. And you're right, if folks would just take the time, the other thing it'll show you is what the expectations for our parents are. As great a school as this is, if you don't have the work at home occurring, and one of the things we really try to do is figure out how do we moderate the amount of work at home. And there are certain grade levels, it's more important for the kids to go play, but that means you're playing with them at times. There are times that, no, we buckle down and we do the work. Well, this helps you understand when those times are. So when you think return on investment, money is always, at the top of people's minds. But I will tell you, the investment of your time and then the investment return in spirituality and social development, that's where the true gift of a place like Brentwood comes in. There are lots of places you can get a great academic education. Coupling that with someone becoming a great person in the name of God, that's where you see a real value.
Definitely. And, as you get older, you and I, we can look back and our kids have gone through a system. We can see what worked and what didn't, what benefited. You get to know families. You see, especially working in education, you see the families where they spent time together, that they came to the community events, that they were really invested. They participated, not just in athletics, but they would participate in fine arts and everything. And then you see their kids when they've grown up, and you see the difference between those who did participate and those who didn't. Yeah. It's such a stark difference, and that's why we encourage people to do that. You only get one shot with your kids. Make the best of it.
Absolutely. You're like me. My kids are grown and gone. Now, they all matriculated through BCS. They're great people, great adults, and I will tell you, best money I ever spent was having my kids here. And my oldest daughter was graduating the year I started here, so we had invested long before I became president here. Best investment we had, but I will also tell you the best time investment we had was our kids were our lives when they were in school. There is not a game or a play or a concert that is not the most important thing that's happening that night. And if you will come be a part of things, just like coming to a football game, because it's football season right now, so we talk about that, in the stands. One, our kids are doing great. They're overachieving for how young they are, our football team. They're doing great. But the camaraderie you build in the stands and understanding the community our kids are in, then it gives you an understanding of who the people are that your kids are with. And then when y'all talk at the dinner table, then it makes more sense. And so your community has to become part of who you are as a family. And if you will make that your primary community and do it in the name of Christ, and then take the time to sit down together to get at dinner, put the stupid phones down, turn the tablets off, spend time with your kids, you'll have an understanding of where they are and what's been happening because of the time you've spent in this community. One of the great things about our community that you'll see a lot of couples up here that their kids are gone. They've already graduated through, they're off in college or they've moved on, yet they're still showing up at games, plays,
Awesome.
all community chapels, because this is their community, and that's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. And there's times that maybe your child isn't playing football, but they're in fine arts and they're in the plays. Well, just like you would want people to come out and support your kids when they're on stage, well, we need to go out and show support for the kids that are on the field.
Yeah.
So it really is a community coming together, and then it sees that your kids see that you care about the school, that you actually are like, hey, I want to participate in what my child's life is like here at Brentwood, and they can be a part of that. And these are the memories that kids will talk about. I remember this. My parents always went here. We always did this. Those are great opportunities that we should not miss out on.
Well, it's kind of like that Bruce Springsteen song, Glory Days. The glory days are always your school days.
Yeah,
That's what
true.
That's what you hearken back to. That's where those primary memories begin.
That's when I had hair.
Yeah, me too. and if your parents are part of that, look at it this way. Your kids are going to develop those memories whether you're there or not. Don't you want to be part of that?
Definitely.
Don't you want them to look back and say, my dad was always in the stands. My mom was the classroom mom. My parents were not only there, they were engaged. And if you do that, the investment, that's where we talk about return on investment. That's the investment. Money's fine. That's the investment of time and intentionality. That's where you're going to see the greatest return with your kids.
Definitely. Speaking of money, something new this year is we set up BCS Funds and Foundation. So we now have a page under the giving page. We've had some families that have said, how can we bless Brentwood Christian School this year? And so what we worked on over the summer was to develop these 5 different funds in which parents are saying, hey, maybe I don't want to just write a blank check. Maybe I want to come in, I really support fine arts, or I support academics. You can go on that page and specifically target where you want your donations to go, and that's how it benefits our school. Tuition, it covers, salaries? But really, everything else, we have to come up with those funds somehow. And so we really rely and cherish the support that we get. So if people are interested in donating to a specific area, please feel free to go to our page for Funds and Foundation.
Everything is relative, and BCS is expensive to anyone cutting a check to BCS. I know that. I will say we are a third to half the cost of the other schools that we compete against. And we do that because our grounds are all paid for. But our tuition covers, as you said, basically salary and benefits. Everything else we fundraise for. And so, there are areas, for example, with our families, we have a lot that sacrificed to be here. We gave out over $500,000 in direct financial aid this year. We gave out $1.5 million in discounts for families to be here family-wise. That includes sibling discounts, pastoral discounts. And so we do that intentionally. 19% of every dollar we bring in goes right back to our community in order to provide aid and assistance for them to be here. And in that intentionality, those that do have means, think of it like this. we're to tithe to the Lord's work. Well, here our mission is to lead kids to love God. I would encourage all of our families to consider the school as part of their tithing even.
Definitely.
You can give specifically if you want your money going to arts, you can do that. To athletics, you can do that. Bless Our Bears. Every penny that goes to Bless Our Bears goes to a family who has a demonstrated need financially to keep their kids here. And let me tell you, one of the most encouraging things for me is to hand a kid their diploma when they walk across that stage, and I know their level of scholarship, that they're going on to the college of their choice with a scholarship level that makes it possible, and I also know they're on financial aid the whole time they're here. And I know that's a family generational change when that happens, and I see it every year. And so I would encourage folks, go look at the giving, and if you are in a company that has matching, talk with Joe. We really want families to get in the habit that the school should be a place that you give to. At the end of the year when you're doing your taxes and you need to make a donation, think of the school first. Every penny that comes to this school goes right back to the families of this school. Mm-hmm. That's one of the great things. You will not find, we have a financial audit every year, and I'll show the audit to anyone that wants to see it. You will not find a place more dedicated to being fiduciarily responsible, being stewards of the money in order to promote the mission, which to make these kids the most college-ready kids in Texas, but doing so carrying the name of the Lord. And when that happens, those are great things. And so I would encourage everyone, make Brentwood part of the recipient of your giving.
It's like a mission field. It really is. I mean, we're investing in the future generations. These kids that come through here to love Christ, to know God's word, to have a relationship with him, that they own their own faith and also own their own education, so that when they go out, they can defend what they believe and why they believe it and be productive members in society and give back, because God has blessed us all with certain talents, and he wants us to go serve him, bring him glory by putting those talents into action. Yeah. And so really when people are we think, well, it's just a private school. No, it really is an investment into our kids for our next generation. So important. Well,
and some of the things people don't think about it, because it is a private school, there's no safety net. This isn't a public school that has the safety net of the government. We live on what we bring in, and we have taken great strides to build endowments so that we can pay our teachers more, because you want that. You want teachers who don't have to leave because they can't afford to live in an expensive city like Austin. So we pay our teachers more than most, even though our tuition is much less. We have good benefits for our teachers, and we keep our teachers. The longevity of some of our teachers, that's one of the things that makes us so successful academically. And so that only happens when families get involved and they care enough to make the school. And I would say, as far as we have families that make the school part of their estate planning, that when something happens from an estate standpoint, always think of the school, because this is one of those few places that truly does put every penny that's given right back into the mission, which are these kids. And I can prove that by showing you our tuition level against any other schools out there, and saying we don't jack up our tuition to try to bring more money in so we can have extravagant stuff. We keep our tuition as low as possible so that we can get as many families in as possible, so that we can concentrate on the mission, and then we rely upon the faithfulness of our families to make sure this school's mission carries forward.
Definitely. And one of the other missions that we have here is really investing into our families and our parents, knowing that it really does take strong parents at home that understand the value of a good Christ-centered education, that the family, you had mentioned earlier, sitting down and eating a meal together. I remember we used to do that with our kids, and people would come over and the kids would go, wait, you sit down and actually eat together? And my question was, you mean you don't?
Yeah. Best time
crazy.
in the world.
Exactly. It's crazy how things have turned around. But you know what? Today is a new day, and every day is an opportunity to make those necessary changes, bring the families together. And so another thing that we discussed over the summer is how can we invest in our dads here at Brentwood? And so, Jay, you and I, we got together and we talked about, why don't we start a men's Bible study? And we're not going to make it an every week thing, so it becomes something where it's like, very taxing on our schedules. We get that. There's a lot of stuff to do. But we figured, hey, every other week. And we had our first one it'll be, a week and a half ago.
Week and a half.
And We had a good turnout.
We did. And our next one's going to be this Friday, the
That is
19th.
correct. And you'll be leading it.
I'm leading this one, 7 o'clock Friday morning. We'll have breakfast there for you. It's only about 45 minutes. And it's a bunch of dads. Joe and I are leading it, but we're dads too. Our kids are grown, but we're dads. And we're talking about what it means to be a faithful man in today's society. How are you a faithful husband, father, leader in your home? How are you the head of your home when the world is trying to tear it down? And so, I'd encourage all our dads. There's free childcare. If you want to come, if you could bring the kids to school that day. If you are in the Bible study, your kids get to go extended day for free that day. Mm-hmm. They can go in and hang out with their friends, come over and eat a breakfast taco with us, and have a 45-minute Bible study. And I promise you, it's a great way to start the day. The men that left last week, Joe led it, or the week before, were not only encouraged, but we made new connections. Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of dads in there that hadn't met the other dads. And one of the cool things with me, we were walking across the parking lot, is those dads are out in the parking lot visiting. Mm-hmm. When those connections are made, those become the friends. And those, when times become tough, that's who you call.
Exactly.
And you say, hey, you know somebody's been through it, and now you're going through it. You don't have to go through it alone. And so, once again, we talk investment. Investing 45 minutes opening God's Word with other men of faith who are willing to say, I need to learn how to be a better father, husband. And I'll say that. Every day I need to be a better father, husband, grandfather now. This is an opportunity to sit with other men and learn how to do that. Hear from their experience, but more importantly, hear what God's saying to us. Open the Word and hearing that.
Definitely. Well, for this year, we also have some new events coming up. Well, they're not necessarily, they're new this year. Like Running of the Bears is coming up. We also have our partnership dinner this year. It's going to be really great because who's going to be our special guest?
Well, and let me start with Running of the Bears before we jump past that. Parents, come out and watch this. We are setting the ninja course up on the athletic field, the football soccer field this year. You can sit in the stands and watch the kids do it, and it's fun. So, parents, you can come up to Running of the Bears and watch some of that. It really is interesting watching these kids, because if you've ever watched American Ninja Warrior, the ninja course is that. They're swinging on ropes, jumping across things, and then they do it against a time. And the kids take it pretty serious. And so we can sit in the stands and watch, so come. But
I wish we had the big balls tournament thing.
I know.
That would really be fun.
Yeah, that's the one that, I don't remember the name of that. That's when you knock the kids off of. They don't let us do that yet, so maybe in the future. Our partnership dinner, this is going to be a good one this year. And, we have had some great ones the last couple of years. We had Dallas Jenkins a couple of years ago with The Chosen. And I'm going to give a preview of next year's. We're going to have either Dallas or Jonathan Rumi next year. That's my promise to the community. Uh-oh. That's as The Chosen ends, and I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. Yeah. But this year, we had Matthew West last year, Matthew West is fantastic, just fantastic. We're going a different route. One of the things that people don't realize as a Christian is you can have fun. It's actually, if you come up here, this is a fun place to be. The kids are laughing. We laugh. We laugh with the kids. We laugh at the kids. They laugh with us. They laugh at us. There's a group of us because we're trying to get the talent show up and running. I've said, I have no talent musically, so I am learning to play the guitar, and a group of us are going to play in the talent show. So I'm going to put myself out there, and that's what we ask the kids to do. Just put yourself out there and try. Well, part of being a Christian is there is joy in being a Christian. It's joyful. My kids, I've taken them probably 5 times to see Tim Hawkins, the Christian comedian, and we got laughed start to finish. And yes, I grew up Church of Christ. He makes fun of the Church of Christ. He makes fun of the Baptists. He makes fun of all of them. And that's part of the joy of it. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at?
Definitely.
And so we're going to have Tim Hawkins, and this is unusual. He doesn't do many things like this. He came last year, I think it was, and went out to Riverbend, which seats probably 3,500, and it was a sellout. I mean, tickets went on sale and sold out. And so we're going to have an intimate evening with him, which is unusual. There'll be at the partnership dinner, there'll be a Q&A session. He's going to do this podcast with us, which that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see that. And then he's going to do a full performance after the dinner. And if you haven't seen Tim Hawkins, look him up on YouTube. Most Christians have, because there aren't many clean Christian comedians.
True.
He is the standard bearer. He was kind of the first big one out there. He was the first one. You have people like John Christ and some of those have come along now that have gotten really popular. Tim Hawkins was the first big name Christian comedian out there that could fill any comedy venue, the same as any other big name comedian. And only he does it in the name of Christ, and that doesn't mean he's pious. It means he spends a lot of time making fun of Christians, which is okay.
Yes.
We're people. We do silly things. It's okay to laugh at. He does one about the different music styles at different churches, and I love it because when he gets to the Church of Christ, he turns his guitar around backwards. Yeah, no instrumental music. So it was funny. You got to laugh at it. So I'd encourage everyone, you talk about a great evening with your family. You can bring all your kids to this one, and you will have a great evening. And honestly, when you go to see one of his concerts, you're going to spend $65, $70 on a ticket. For $85, you get a great meal, the Q&A, all of the great things that happen at Partnership Dinner. Then you get the best seats in the house for his show, because we will sell outer seats to the open community. So, man, when tickets go on sale, jump on them. Get a table. It's $1,500 for a table. That's 10 seats. That also, every penny of that goes to support the school, but it also is a great community evening together. I'm hoping we set an attendance. When we had Dallas Jenkins, there was not a seat to be had. We could not have sold another seat in that venue. We're in a larger venue now, and it ought to be that way this year. We ought to have literally 2,500 to 3,000 people there.
Well, if there's anything we could use more of these days is laughter.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Well, and let me say this. We've talked about a lot of great things, and this isn't on our agenda, but one of the things we're dealing with, and we actually have a luncheon a little bit with a group of kids that came in that are really struggling with Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's times like this when we talk about joy and laughter. One of the things that provides joy and laughter for a Christian is knowing there's so much more than what we have here. The hard part of that is perspective. This is all we know. We have to have our faith be what gets us through the difficult times. And parents, I want y'all to hear me on this. Your kids pay attention, whether you realize it or not. I've had kids in my office all week last week after that assassination. And not because they are political people, not because they get into all of the arguments of politics, but because they saw a young man who professed Christ openly, father of 2 little kids, gunned down for doing nothing more than talking to people, sitting down in a forum and saying, we may disagree, you say what you have to say, let me say what I have to say, and let's be civil about it. That was it. There are flamethrowers out there. He was not one of them. And those that lump him in with the flamethrowers, please do your homework. He literally gave a microphone to anyone that wanted the microphone and let them talk. Gave them the floor to espouse whatever it was they wanted to say. Now, he may differ with them. Never heard him call anyone a name. Never heard him belittle anyone. I heard him call on Christ many, many, many times in those conversations. And there were times he would have a stark disagreement with someone. He faithfully said, sex was for one man and one woman in marriage, that God created male and female, that, Jesus Christ is the way we get to the Father. There should be nothing controversial about those statements. Saying that little boys should not be in the girls' room and big boys sure shouldn't be in the girls' room. There is nothing controversial about that. That is base common sense, that in the end times, evil will become common. And that's what we're seeing, unless those of us who know what are right are willing to say it. And our kids have been shaken up when a young man who spent time professing what was right and doing it in a civil manner, which was discourse, not standing behind a microphone and just yelling at people, but giving the microphone to the kids on the other side and saying, talk to me. And that he would be gunned down in front of his little ones has shaken our kids up. So parents, spend some time and talk to your kids. Talk to them about you cannot cower because there are those who are evil enough to try to silence what is good. We can't back down in saying what's right. We also have to be careful in the way that we say it, because Christ never took the scripture and beat people over the head. Instead, he went to the sinner with compassion. But in his compassion, he never wavered on what was right and wrong. We have to compassionately take what is right to the world and do it in a way of trying to bring the world over to Christ. But we can't back down from saying what's right.
Definitely.
That's one of the things we're talking with our kids about is, man, as awful as that was last week, and, the organization that Charlie ran is called Turning Points, that I think that his assassination may be a turning point because so many people. I got a letter from TEA going out to all superintendents in the state saying, if you have teachers or administrators on staff who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, they need to be dismissed. And listen, I would say put it on the other side. If somebody were celebrating the death of Chris Cuomo on the other side, that's wrong. We should never celebrate the ending of a human life. It doesn't matter what side they're on. We should never celebrate someone being hurt just because we disagree with them. That's what's wrong with the world today. We've got to learn how to have a discourse and debate and a disagreement and still respect the other side. But the only way you do that is by understanding yours. What is it you believe in? What is those things that are your faith that you will not bend on? But you still then have to promote that faith in a way that's not a cudgel between Christ and that person. It's a doorway. And that only happens when it's done with compassion. The shame of it is Charlie actually did that. He actually was a pretty compassionate fellow. And the ones that really struggled with a very vehement disagreement of belief tended to be the ones that got the nicest side of him, because oftentimes he'd bless them on the way out, just to hopefully end it with that. So, last week we should have been talking about 9/11, and we can never forget that there's evil in this world. And then that assassination was just another reminder that there is evil in this world. And when you become precious to God, you become a target for evil. But that doesn't mean we can hide, nor should we. Instead, I think what we need to do is make our voices heard. Just do it in the right way.
Definitely. Well, what I loved about Charlie is that if you take John 8, where Jesus confronts the woman caught in adultery, he had compassion towards her. But here she lived a life in prostitution. But even with his compassion, he then finished by saying, go and sin no more.
Yeah.
So he didn't withhold truth, even though he was showing compassion. So being able to demonstrate both. God doesn't want us to keep us where we're at. He doesn't love us and just say, just stay the way you are. He wants us to conform to his image, because then you will have the peace that surpasses all understanding, and understanding what life is all about.
Well, and I would invite our parents. We've invited you to All Community Chapel this week. I would like to encourage you. We're actually going to have a young man, one of the leaders of our school, who came to me really wanting to work through process that assassination. And not from a political standpoint, but from the standpoint of a young man, was a young father that professed to love the Lord, was gunned down like that, and he was struggling. He's actually going to give a testimony in chapel on Wednesday.
Nice.
And he's going to pray for the Kirk family. And so, community, if you want to see faith in action, we talked about return on investment, come watch this young man who of his own volition has asked to stand up in front of all his peers and bless the Kirk family, and then give a testimony on how this has affected him. That's pretty powerful.
Definitely. Well, I know we kind of went right into the Charlie Kirk thing. I wanted us, and I know we're going to talk more about biblical things. The podcast we are going this year to hit so many different topics, and one of those was going to be on that topic. I know you and I will be meeting and discussing how we can communicate more, even our Christian values here, not just in a men's study, but also community-wide, our campus. This is what we're all about here, is having an impact for the kingdom and the lives of these kids. Before we go, I know we're running a little long here. I did want to mention that there is an event that's going to be coming up that is so important that we do need to make a plug for it. So, Jay, can you tell us about the ESA meeting coming up?
Yeah, on October 16th, we're going to have Laura Colangelo. She is the executive director of TPSA, Texas Private School Association. And she has worked very closely with Governor Abbott's office and with the comptroller's office, and then with state legislatures on the new bills that pass that are bringing about ESAs, which is educational savings accounts. This is the first tranche towards creating school choice, true school choice. what they have put out there is there's been enough money allocated, and this bill has already passed. The money is allocated for about 80,000 students. And so there should be quite a few students on our campus affected by next year. And what it means, if you are one of those families that qualifies for this first tranche through, you could end up with an educational savings account that pays for your schooling. And so that's what we're going to be talking about on the 16th. Even if you think you won't qualify, you should still come because you might be surprised. And what the legislature is trying to move to is moving towards qualification for all. And so everyone needs to register. Even if you don't get in this first time, you may get in the next time. And so think about that. That would be the money that you're paying into private school. You could actually keep. That becomes your money. And so that's what an educational savings account is. Somewhere between $10,000 and $13,000. They're still working that out. And it's more for families with kids with disabilities. We'll go to a family. They have it in an electronic wallet, and they can use that to pay for tuition, uniforms, fees, everything. And so come on the 16th. What you will hear is this is who can get in, the process of getting in. Then we're actually going to have registration fairs because registration will then open in January. We'll have registration fairs on campus. But you'll have Laura there, and she is the expert. Can answer questions. Come. This is one of those things that this could be a life difference maker for many families in our community. Even those that think they might not qualify, you may be surprised because 80,000 is a lot of kids in this first time through. It really is designed for the families of kids who are already in private schools so they can get the system set up. And so we can't make any guarantees. It's going to be a lottery system this first time through, but you can't win if you don't register.
That's right.
And so we are going to work with our families. We will have an ESA coordinator on faculty that will be working with all of our families to get you registered. You'll register in January. You'll know in March. And if you've been selected, man, you talk about a blessing to your family. That's your kids' tuition covered.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, this is one of those well worth your time evenings. So write the October 16th, 6:30 on your calendar. Be here that evening. It will be a blessing to you.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to have to close this session, but we're going to have many more coming up in the very near future, so we're excited for that. Jay, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day.
Well, thanks for your time.
And I know you always like to close with your favorite saying, which is?
It's a great day to be a Brentwood Bear.